And what I see in a lot of socials is that some professionals are posting too many lifestyle type posts, which, as I mentioned, you can sprinkle those in sporadically, but they should not be your main focus because when people are making high stakes decisions like these, like your prospective clients are, they're not looking for entertainment. They're looking to see whether they trust you and whether you are knowledgeable. I'm Sylvie Garibaldi, founder and CEO of a well-established marketing training and done-for-you services company, tailored specifically for the modern legal and financial professional worldwide. While it's taken some trial and error to figure out which methods get the best results for professionals who are looking to grow their practices, fast forward to today, my team and I have nailed down and perfected a process that has helped so many of our clients consistently achieve outstanding results and create a legacy for their practices. I created the Serve First, Sell Later marketing podcast to give you simple, actionable, non-salesy, and results-driven marketing to grow your legal or financial practice like so many of our clients have. If you're a lawyer, mediator, financial, or divorce professional who is looking to become highly visible and wants to create a practice that makes an impact, then you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 108 of the Serve First, Sell Later marketing podcast. I'm your host, Sylvie Garibaldi. If you've ever wondered why your social media posts get likes and applause, but very few consults, then this episode is for you because here's the reality that most professionals don't talk about. Not all content is created equal, especially when what you're selling is a high-stakes professional service like legal advice, mediation, or divorce coaching. So when someone is facing one of the most stressful decisions of their life, whether they have to hire an attorney, book a mediator, or work with a divorce professional, they're not looking for someone who posts great lifestyle content or inspirational quotes. They're actually looking for clarity, competence, and trust. And so they want to feel confident that the person on the other side of the screen can actually help them navigate a complicated, emotional, life-changing process. And so that's the difference between what I call influencer style content, which is the behind-the-scenes, selfie, personality-first posts, versus authority content, which are the educational guides, case examples, step-by-step explanations that position you as an expert. And that difference is what we're breaking down in today's episode, why expertise content outperforms influencer content in our world, how buyers in professional services really make decisions, and what you can do in your own marketing to turn listeners into consults and referrals. So if you've ever felt like you're spinning your wheels on social media or you're a bit frustrated that engagement isn't turning into real business, then I want you to stay with me right till the end of this episode, where we're going to unpack this in a way that feels practical and actionable. All right, so let's dive right in. So now that I've set the stage, let's talk about the very first reason this topic should matter to your practice. We live in a world where attention is everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, other socials. But attention alone doesn't put people in your consultation calendar. And so what does put people in your calendar is trust. And here's the key insight. In professional services, people don't want to be entertained. They want to be informed. They want to learn something that helps them make a better decision. And that's why educational content, which could consist of clear explanations, checklists, step-by-step, this type of content matters a lot. And research from marketing experts show that educational resources help potential clients feel competent and informed without feeling sold to. So let me put it this way. When someone is facing a divorce or people within an organization are experiencing a lot of conflict, they're looking for answers, not just personality. They're thinking, can this expert help me avoid costly mistakes? Can they make this process less stressful? Do they know exactly what they're doing? And so that's the fundamental shift that I'm talking about here. So instead of asking, how can I get more likes on this post? I think the better question is, How can I answer the questions that my ideal client is actually searching for online? And so educational content does exactly that. It answers real questions that people are trying to solve before they actually hire someone. And that's why it builds trust, because it shows that you actually understand the real problems that your prospective clients are facing. Now, in contrast, lifestyle posts, motivational quotes, behind the scenes selfies, these are all great for attention and they do play a role in your social media, but they should not be front and center. What I'm trying to say here is that type of social media rarely moves the needle when someone is deciding who they're going to trust with their future. So, while I'm not disputing that having a few posts where people will get to know you better as a person are important, you can throw some of those into your weekly social media posts, but you have to be very deliberate and make sure that you're not crossing the line on what I call those types of lifestyle posts. But what we're seeing is that the educational posts are the ones that actually get people over that line to say yes to your services. Now, let's talk about something that might be uncomfortable for some of you, but I think it's really important if you want your marketing to actually result in new consults and referrals. So, a lot of people believe that more attention equals more clients. And because of that, professionals sometimes get drawn into trying to grow their social persona, posting behind the scenes, snapshots, inspirational quotes, even a day in my life stories. Here's the truth that we see again and again. That content does get likes, but it doesn't necessarily build trust that leads to consistent new business. And I think there's a big difference between engagement metrics like likes, comments, followers, and decision making signals. And these decision making signals are people that are booking consult calls with you, they're asking for your services, or they're actually referring you to others. So, influencer style posts by design, they're really great at holding attention and building a kind of feel good connection. And as I mentioned before, throwing in one or two posts like that in a week are good because people can get to know you personally. And yes, in some parts of marketing, influencer style posts are all that they would post, such as in fashion, beauty, or lifestyle products, because this can move the needle on purchases. But it's very different when you're trying to choose a professional to guide you through something that is life changing. So, academic research shows that influential content works when people are making lower risk decisions where emotion and relatability play a big role and the stakes are not really high. So, for major decisions like choosing an attorney, mediation support, divorce guidance, what we're seeing is buyers behave very differently. They're not primarily looking for someone that they like, they're looking for someone that they trust to handle something difficult and consequential. So, professional buyers, that is, people that are looking for professionals just like you, lawyers, mediators, or divorce professionals, they're asking these questions. And whether they say them out loud or not, these are the questions they're typically thinking. Do they know what they're doing? Have they seen this exact situation before? And can they walk me through these steps clearly? So, influencer style content, the casual personality first type posts, they don't really answer those decision making questions and it doesn't demonstrate structured expertise. So, even if people look at the posts, they follow or they comment, that doesn't mean that they trust you with their future. I hope this makes sense. So, in contrast, authority content such as educational posts, webinars, case examples, checklists, speaking in plain language that directly answers the problems that people are worrying about, that is authority content. And that's what drives consultation calls because it helps people solve parts of their problem before they ever pick up the phone. And that's what builds trust and moves people towards booking a consultation with you. So, the big lesson here is this: attention is cheap, decision making trust is valuable. So you want people not just to watch your content or read it, but to come away thinking, this professional really gets this, and I could see myself working with them. And that's what we're going to talk about next is the types of authority content that actually move people towards more referrals and consultation calls. So, we've talked a bit about why influencer style content isn't the main driver of trust for high stakes decisions. So, I want to walk you through the types of content that actually work, content that helps your ideal clients move from uncertainty to confidence and ultimately wanting to book a call with you. So, here's the first thing to understand when you create content that educates, you're not just filling up a social feed. You are helping someone solve a problem that they came to you because they don't know how to solve it themselves. So, research shows that content that helps people learn something they don't already know makes them dramatically more likely to choose that provider later. In fact, in one study, people were over 130% more likely to buy from a brand right after they consumed educational content compared with those who didn't. So that tells us that the real power in teaching first instead of selling first is super important. So here are the content formats that we see consistently convert and not just entertain, if you will. So the first are educational guides and how to posts. And so these are the kinds of posts that answer real questions in plain language that your ideal client might be typing into Google or thinking about late at night. Okay, so for example, what do I do before my first consultation call with the lawyer? What should I have prepared? How does mediation work step by step? Like, how does it work? Or how do I get the most out of mediation? What types of documents do I need to prepare before meeting with my divorce coach? So, these types of guides really signal competence and clarity, and they become evergreen assets that work for you long after you publish them. So, this is why I'm a big advocate of making sure you have these evergreen assets in place. So people love checklists because it helps them reduce uncertainty. So a checklist for what to bring to your first mediation session or steps in a child custody negotiation, these help prospective clients feel more in control. And it's not just information, it's usable information. So the third kind is not about sharing confidential client details, but it's about showing your thinking process. Okay, so this is what I would call case walkthroughs and examples. So, how a complex custody issue was resolved through a structured parenting plan, or lessons from a mediated settlement that worked even when emotions were really high. So, these are powerful because they show real world application of your expertise. The fourth one are webinars and workshops. So, hosting live webinars or workshops on core questions that people have. So, for example, how does mediation differ from litigation or your rights and timelines in a separation? So, all of this helps position you as a teacher and not a salesperson. And so, these events also allow people to interact with you directly, which ultimately builds trust and connection before they ever pick up the phone. The fifth one consists of interviews with referral partners and experts. So, for example, bringing in a therapist, a financial planner, a parenting coordinator, or another professional and interview them about issues that matter to your audience. This is a really good one. So, not only does this provide valuable insight, it also signals strong referral networks and credibility. And so people pay attention when respected professionals share their perspectives. All of these formats have one thing in common. They are designed to solve real problems and to educate rather than to merely entertain. That means when someone reads or watches them, they come away feeling just more informed and more confident about what you do and who you are. And here's the bonus. When prospects consume content like this early in their decision process, they start to see you as the go-to expert in your space. So instead of wondering if they should call a lawyer or a mediator, they say to themselves, I've already learned something from this person and I trust that they can help me. And so it's that kind of trust that turns prospects into booked consults and eventually into clients. So let me get super practical now. You've heard the why behind authority content, and now I want to show you exactly what the content looks like with a few examples so that you can use them right away in your own marketing. So, there are kinds of posts, talks, and resources that signal expertise and build trust more than others. I want to start with the educational pieces or the LinkedIn post ideas. And so these are the types of content that gives real value and helps people make informed decisions. So things like what to do before your first mediation session. This could walk people through the exact steps that someone should take in simple language. Another one is 8 questions you should ask your family lawyer in your first meeting. And so then you give them a checklist of important questions to show that you understand what matters. All right. Another quick one here is what is the difference between mediation and litigation? And so you provide a plain English breakdown of how people don't really know the difference and that you show them the difference and help them think clearer with this explanation. And so these posts demonstrate your knowledge and process, and they get clients thinking, wow, this person can probably help me in my situation. When we look at things like webinars or live videos, for example, your audience is going to show up live, and that interaction builds deeper trust. So, once again, live formats are powerful because they really let people ask questions in real time. And so you are modeling expertise in real time. Video also helps people convey your communication style, your professionalism, which research shows, by the way, can improve recall and confidence more than text alone. So when we look at things like checklists, frameworks, and templates, right, that we talked about already, these are the types of, without you being there, help that people will bookmark, they will share, they will save on social. And these can also help position you as organized and competent. The next one I want to talk about are the interviews of referral partners. So, interviewing professionals who have similar clients. For example, a child therapist may be on helping kids through divorce transitions, or a family counselor on managing conflict without escalation. So, these interviews do a couple of things. One is they provide new expert perspectives to your audience and they help strengthen that referral network. And for me, that's totally a double win. So you always want to make sure that you are thinking what the end goal here is to solve before you sell. You want to solve a problem before you actually sell to this person. So, I want to take a moment to kind of tie together the big ideas that I mentioned here in this episode. And I think the first one is, we talked about why educational, authority driven content matters more than influencer style content, especially when it comes to marketing professional services. And in high stakes decisions like these, your prospects aren't looking for entertainment, they're looking for clarity, competence, and trust. And what I see in a lot of socials is that some professionals are posting too many lifestyle type posts, which, as I mentioned, you can sprinkle those in sporadically, but they should not be your main focus because when people are making high stakes decisions like these, like your prospective clients are, they're not looking for entertainment. They're looking to see whether they trust you and whether you are knowledgeable. I just wanted to make that clear because I'm seeing more and more of these selfies pop up. And while I said they do play a smaller role in people getting to know you and on the personal side, if you have too many of those, it can really change the way people see you as a professional. And I think we have to be very careful about that approach. And then influencer style content, like I may see an attorney sitting in their backyard thinking about life and thinking about their next vacation, for example. And so that's great because now you're getting to know the attorney that you may be hiring. But people making stressful life decisions, they behave differently, as I mentioned, from retail customers. So they're looking for expertise and guidance. And so you need to ask yourself whether that type of influencer style content is actually going to get them to want to book a consultation call with you. And now, if the purpose of that influencer style social media piece that you created was for them to just get to know you, and it's one that you occasionally throw in there, that's okay. But a bulk of your posts need to be authority driven and educationally oriented. Third, I talked about specific authority content formats, educational guides, checklists, case walkthroughs, webinars and workshops, and referral partner interviews. And so I think it's important to consider how those can actually elevate your visibility when you are using those types of formats. So, in short, educating first, solving real problems, and building trust, that's what's going to turn your listeners, readers, watchers into clients. Thank you for listening and see you in the next episode.